Hello, my dear students. I hope you all are safe at your home. Stay home and stay safe. Today I am here with you to teach you the second part of the lesson, the 100 dresses written by Eleanor Estes. Before moving further, Revidev, who is the central character in this story? Wanda Petronsky. She was a Polish immigrant who had come to an American town with her family. She joined in the school. Her classmates, especially Peggy, used to tease her. She was a poor girl. She used to wear the same dress, so a blue faded dress. So Peggy used to ask her, how many dresses do you have? And Wanda Petronsky replied that she had 100 dresses. There was a drawing competition in the school, but Wanda Petronsky got first prize. Now all of you take your literature reader. While the class was circling the room, the monitor from the principal office brought Miss Mason a note. While the class was circling the room, then Miss Mason announced that Wanda Petronsky got first prize. Then suddenly, the monitor, the leader from the principal office brought Miss Mason a notice. The leader brought a notice to Miss Mason. Miss Mason read it several times and studied it thoughtfully for a while. Then she clapped her hands. Miss Mason read it several times and studied it thoughtfully for a while. Then she clapped her hands. Attention class, everyone back to their seat. Everyone go back to your seat. When the shuffling of feet had stopped and the room was still and quiet, Miss Mason said, I have a letter from Wanda's father that I want to read to you. I got a letter from Wanda Petronsky's father. Then she was absent for the last 1 week. Now I got a letter from Wanda Petronsky. So she clapped her hands at first. I want to read to you. Miss Mason stood there a moment and the silence in the room grew tense and expectant. The teacher adjusted her glasses slowly and deliberately. Her manner indicated what was coming. This letter from Wanda's father was a matter of great importance. I got a letter from Wanda's father. This letter was a matter of great importance. Everybody listen closely as Miss Mason read the brief note. Everybody, all of you listen here. I am going to read the letter. Miss Mason said, I got a letter from Wanda Petronsky. Last few days she was absent. Then all of you listen here. Dear teacher, my Wanda will not come to your school anymore. Jack also. Now we move away to big city. No more holler Pollock. No more ask why funny name. Plenty of funny names in the big city. Yours truly, Jan Petronsky. Then Miss Mason got a letter from Wanda Petronsky. Then what was the content of the letter? My Wanda, my daughter will not come to your school. Jack also. Now we move away to big city. My daughter will not come to your school. We move away to big city. No more holler Pollock. What do you mean by the word holler Pollock here? Holler Pollock is a phrase used to show contempt to a person of Polish descent. No more ask why funny name. The students, her classmate used to tease Wanda Petronsky because her name was funny. Plenty of funny names in the big city. Yours truly, Jan Petronsky. A deep silence met the reading of this letter. After reading the letter, there was a deep silence in the class. Miss Mason took off her glasses, blew on them and wiped them on her soft white handkerchief. What did Miss Mason do? After reading the letter, she took off her glass, blew on them and wiped them on her soft white handkerchief. Then she put them on again and looked at the class. When she spoke, her voice was very, very low. Then after reading the letter, then she spoke to the children in a very low voice. I am sure that none of the boys and girls in room 13 would purposefully and deliberately hurt anyone's feeling. Then I am sure that none of the boys and girls in room number 30 deliberately or purposefully hurt anyone's feeling. Because her name happened to be low, unfamiliar one. Then Miss Mason, after reading the letter, Miss Mason talked to the children. I am sure that none of the boys and girls in room number 13 would purposefully or deliberately hurt anyone's feelings. I prefer to think that what was said in thoughtlessness. I prefer to believe that what was said in thoughtlessness. I know that all of you feel the way I do. That this is a very important thing to have happened. Unfortunate and sad. This is a very important and unfortunate thing already happened, and I want you all to think about it. Then I want all of you should think about it. Then what was the content of the letter? Wanda Petronsky would not come to the school again. Why? Because the students in that particular class used to tease her. So Miss Mason, after reading the letter, the Miss Mason told the students that this matter is very important. All of you should think about it. The first period was a study period. Maddie tried to prepare her lesson, but she could not put her mind on her work. The first period was a study period. Maddie tried to prepare her lesson, but she could not concentrate on her studies. She had a very sick feeling in the bottom of her stomach. True, she had not enjoyed listening to Peggy ask Wanda how many dresses she had in her closet. But she had said nothing. She had stood by silently, and that was just as bad as what Peggy had done. Then while she was writing, she could not concentrate well because Maddie was thinking about the incident. Then Peggy, her intimate friend, used to tease Wanda by asking how many dresses do you have. Then most of the time, Madeline did not ask her anything, but most of the time she supports her. Then she had said nothing. She had stood by her silently, and that was just as bad as what Peggy had done. Worse, she was a coward. At least Peggy had not considered they were being mean, but Maddie, had thought they were doing wrong. She could put herself in Wanda's shoes. Then most of the time, Peggy asked her, how many dresses do you have? That means she used to tease her. That means here, Peggy, without knowing more about her, she judged her. That is not good. Then while Madeline was writing, she could not concentrate her studies and she was thinking about the particular incident. Goodness, was not there anything she could do? If only she could tell Wanda she had not meant to hurt her feelings. What we can do now? Then we have to meet Wanda Petronsky. She turned round and stole a glance at Peggy. She turned back and looked at Peggy, but Peggy did not listen to her. She seemed to be studying hard. Well, whether Peggy felt badly or not, Madeline had to do something. Then I don't know whether Peggy felt bad or not. Anyway, I had to do something. She had to find Wanda Petronsky. Maybe she had not yet moved away. Then Madeline decided to find out Wanda Petronsky. Maybe they had not moved away from there. Maybe Peggy would climb the heights with her. Maybe Peggy was also ready to come with her. And they would tell Wanda she had won the contest, that they thought she was smart and the 100 dresses were very beautiful. Then while Madeline was doing her homework, she could not concentrate her studies. She was thinking about the particular incident. So she decided to meet Wanda Petronsky and inform her she got first prize in the drawing contest. When school was dismissed in the afternoon, Peggy said with pretended casualness, "Hi, let us go and see if that kid has left town or not." And after the school, Peggy asked Madeline, "Let us go and see if that kid has left town or not." Peggy asked Maggie, "Let us go and meet her." Actually, Madeline was thinking about this. Then after the school, Peggy asked her the same thing. So Peggy had the same idea. Maddie glowed. Peg was really alright. That means both of them decided to go and meet Wanda Petronsky. The two girls hurried out of the building, up the street toward Bogan Heights, the part of town that wore such a forbidding air on this kind of a November afternoon, drizzly, damp and dismal. The two girls hurried out of the building to go to Bogan Heights and meet Wanda Petronsky, the part of town that wore such a forbidding air. Forbidding here means unfriendly air on this kind of a November afternoon, drizzly, damp and dismal. Damp and dismal means expressing a state of hopelessness. That place expressing a state of hopelessness. We have already seen Wanda was a poor child and she was from Bogan Heights. That place expressed a state of hopelessness. "Well, at least," said Peggy gruffly. Then Peggy said in a rough manner, gruffly means roughly, "I never did call her a foreigner. I never call her a foreigner or make fun of her name." Peggy said, "I never call her a foreigner or make fun of her name. I never thought she had the sense to know we were making fun of her anyway. I thought she was too dumb. She said, I thought she was too rough. And gee, look how she can draw. And gee here means a mild expression of surprise. Look how she can draw. How wonderfully she has drawn. Maddie could say nothing. Maddie did not give any reply. All she hoped was that they would find Wanda. Then she was thinking about Wanda Petronsky. She wanted to tell her that they were sorry they had picked on her. Then Maddie wanted to tell her sorry. So she decided to go there. And how wonderful the whole school thought she was. And please not to move away and everybody would be nice. Maddie wanted to meet Wanda and say sorry her and asked her don't move away from the place. Not to move away and everybody would be nice. She and Peggy would fight anybody who was not nice. Then she also decided to tell her that don't move away, then nobody will ridicule you. Then if anybody is behaving in such a manner, she and Peggy, Madeline and Peggy would fight anybody who was not nice with her. The two girls hurried on. They hoped to get to the top of the hill before dark. I think that's where the Petronskys live, said Maddie, pointing to a little white house. At last they reached near a little white house. Wisp of old grass stuck up here and there along the pathway like thin kittens. The house was its sparse little yard, looked shabby but clean. At last they reached her house. The house was small, shabby but clean. It reminded Maddie of Wanda's one dress, her faded blue cotton dress, shabby but clean. At last they reached their house. Her house was very small, shabby but clean. Then during that time, Maddie remembered her only one dress, the only blue faded dress. There was not a sign of life about the house. Peggy knocked faintly on the door, but there was no answer. There was no sign of life at the house. Peggy knocked faintly on the door, but there was no answer. She and Maddie went around the backyard and knocked there. She and Maddie went around the house, but nobody was there. Still, there was no answer. They reached the house, they knocked the door, but they did not get any reply. There was no doubt about it. The Petronskys were gone. How could they ever make amends? Amends here means how would that children say sorry to her? They turned slowly and made their way back down the hill. They turned slowly and went back to their home. Well, anyway, said Peggy, she has gone now. So what can we do? While they were walking back to their home, Peggy told her, what can we do now? Besides, when I was asking her about all her dresses, she probably was getting good ideas for her drawing. Then again Peggy said, when I was asking her about all her dresses, she probably was getting good ideas for her drawings. Then when I asked her about the dresses, she was probably making good ideas about her drawings. She might not even have won the contest otherwise. Otherwise, she would not have won the contest. Maddie turned this idea carefully over in her head, for if there were anything in it, she would not have to feel so badly. But that night, she could not get to sleep. Maddie turned this idea carefully over in her head, for if there were anything in it, she would not have to feel so badly. But that night, she could not get to sleep. That night, Maddie did not sleep. She thought about Wanda and her faded blue dress and the little house she had lived in. Then she did not sleep during that night. Then she was thinking about Wanda Petronsky, and about her house. And she thought of the glowing picture those 100 dresses made all lined up in the classroom. Then she was thinking about Wanda, her house and her 100 dresses. At last, Maddie sat up in bed and pressed her forehead tight in her hands and really thought. This was the hardest thinking she had ever gone. At last, Maddie sat up in bed and pressed her forehead tight in her hands and was thinking about that particular incident. This was the hardest thinking she had ever done. After a long time, she reached an important conclusion. Then after a long time, she reached an important conclusion. What was that conclusion? She was never going to stand by and say nothing again. She was never going to stand by and say nothing again. Then used to when Peggy used to tease her, Maddie supported her. Then again, she was never going to stand by and say nothing again. If she never heard anybody picking on someone because they were funny looking or because they had strange names, she would speak up, even if it meant losing Peggy's friendship. Then if she ever heard anybody picking on someone because they were funny looking or because they had strange name, if she ever heard, if anybody is trying to tease others, I will never interfere. She would speak up, even if it meant losing Peggy's friendship. Then most of the time, Madeline did not like this, but she liked Peggy very much. She would speak up, even if it meant losing Peggy's friendship. She had no way of making things right with Wanda. But from now on, she would never make anybody else that unhappy again. Then on that particular night, she did not sleep. She was thinking about Wanda Petronsky, her house and her drawings. At last, he reached a conclusion. What was that conclusion? Then she decided not to tease others. Here ends the second part. Now, let's see the summary. Eva Mary, who is the author of this lesson? Eleanor Estes. Then who are the main characters in this lesson? Tejesh, can you say? Okay, Peggy, Madeline, Wanda Petronsky, Miss Mason. Wanda Petronsky was a Polish immigrant who had come to an American town with her family. Then her classmates used to tease her. She was a poor girl. Every day she wore the same dress, a blue faded dress. So especially Peggy and Madeline used to tease her by asking her, how many dresses do you have? But Wanda Petronsky replied that she had 100 dresses with different colors. Peggy and Madeline did not believe this. There was a drawing competition in their school. Everybody thought that Peggy would win the competition. But Wanda Petronsky got first prize. But for the continuous 3 or 4 days, she was absent in the class. Later, Miss Mason got a letter from her father. Then what was the content of the letter? My daughter will not come to your school again. We have decided to go to another place. We have decided to move away to a big city. After hearing this, Miss Mason became so sad, and the children, her classmates also, were very sad. Especially Madeline. So Madeline and Peggy decided to meet Wanda Petronsky. Decided to go and meet Wanda Petronsky to inform her that she got first prize in drawing competition. They went to Bogan Heights. At last, they reached a house. Her house was very small. They knocked at the door, but they did not get any reply. They became so sad and they came back to their house. That night, Madeline did not sleep. Then she was thinking about Wanda Petronsky, her house and her 100 dresses. At last, she reached a conclusion that she would never tease others. Here ends the first part of that lesson. All of you read the lesson. I will send you the notes through Google Classroom. Thank you all.